Today, Meeke is all about adoption, which I believe is God's model. All of us who have come into the family of God, that's happened via adoption. And so November is National Adoption Month. And so I wanted to talk about that. And I was saying this in the last segment. I didn't realize that we were doing a show that was going to fall in National Adoption Month. Really, Danielle, I was drawn to your story. So let me just introduce my guests, Danielle Cobb and her mom, Sherry. I learned of your story. You wrote an entry for Chicken Soup for the Teenage Soul, right?
I don't know if it was for the Teenage Soul,
no,
but I know
was it for Chicken Soup something?
It was
one of those
for how you became like into your belief, whatever it was.
So like your testimony, right? And I read your testimony, and Danielle, I was so struck by your ability to understand what it means to be adopted not only once into your family, but into the family of God, because you're 16, is that right? Now, when did you write this entry?
Last March, so I was 15.
Okay, so take our viewers back. I would like for you to share your story. Go back to before you met your parents and what was going on in your life.
I was 4, I believe, and it was just continuous abuse just after, you know, just like silly things like spelling your ABCs wrong or spelling a word wrong, you know, or just something like that. And so it would just be, you get home, you do your homework, if you got it wrong, you got abused, or, you know, just little basic stuff like that.
Now, what do you say, Danielle, or what do you mean when you say abused? I think sometimes when people hear that, you know, even some people watching, it's very easy for us to airbrush that and to say, oh, she was an abused child. And so we know that's wrong, but we don't understand. Are you comfortable to tell me what was happening in your...
Sometimes it's verbally, but for me it was a bell, and it was just continuous. Like for a little kid at 4, you know, 5 spanks or, you know, whatever is okay. But then when you go past that, it's like that's too much. And it was just continuous after that.
Yeah, well, it was so much so that there was a day where you were in like a gym class or something. You were maybe about 5 at this point.
Yeah.
And just doing your normal exercises, and one of the teachers noticed bruising on your back.
That's how bad it was, that I got bruises and welts and stuff like that. So.
And so what happened after that? Let's talk about that.
After that, I was talking to the nurses and stuff, and there was a police officer there and everything. And so for me, I was nervous. I didn't know what to say. So I was like, well, my cousin did it, or my, you know, whoever did it. And then they're like, how did they do that? And so then they're like, you need to tell us the truth. So I told them, and then I went to the doctor, and they, you know, checked me and put stuff on there. And then after that, I didn't go back there. I went straight to a foster home.
Wow. So you were 5 years old. But you said something in your story or in your account about your father.
Right.
And about being in a car accident and your father running away from the scene of the accident,
right,
and leaving you in the vehicle. Can you tell me, fill in the details? What?
That was before the accident. That was before like the
before you had to tell what was going on with the abuse. Right.
And then we were in the car. I had no seatbelt on, and we were just driving. And then it happened so fast. Then he just started running away. I didn't know why. I was just, why are you leaving me here? I'm your little daughter. And he just kept running.
Yeah. So he didn't want to be at the scene of the crime. But the way that you connected those points is that you said that once you had to tell about the abuse, you know, and the fear that happened, and feeling so alone in this room, you recalled that account. You recalled that moment that you felt alone once again. And so fast forward again, 5 years old, you're now in a foster family, but you don't stay there.
Right.
You go to another foster family. And which family is that?
Mom and Dad.
It's your mom and dad. Sherry, thank you so much for being here. You are with child.
I am.
And can we just say, what child number this will be for your family?
Number 11.
Child number 11 is due in a few months. And so thank you for being here. I really appreciate that. But you guys welcomed Danielle into your home. Was she 5, 6?
No, she was 7, but she was turning 7 then.
And you were foster parents.
Yeah.
So what happened that you said, we want to foster kids, and then what happened that you said, she belongs here, she's our daughter?
Well, I always had something in my heart to foster and adopt, and it was just something God put there, and it was in my heart. I was a missionary in Africa for a few years, and when I was there, it was before I was married, and I just wanted to take every child home with me. And at that point, I was not married, and there were many rules and regulations of having a child leave the country, and I wasn't able to. And I just knew at that time, this is something I want to do. I want to take children. I don't have a problem loving other people's children. I want them, I want to bring them and help them and stuff like that. So we, as soon as, it was something that Don and I had discussed even before we got married, and I said, there is a burning desire in my heart to do this when we are married. And he agreed with it, and as soon as we got married, actually, one of the first things that we did was we signed up to be foster parents. And at that point, we were declined because at the system at that particular place where we lived somewhere else, I just found out, we were married about 3 months and I got pregnant, and they said we would not place a child in with you while you're pregnant right now or before the baby is born, because we wanted to get started on all the paperwork and everything right away. And they told us, no, you're going to have to wait till the baby is at least a little older. So we put it on the back burner, and then we moved and we tried to reapply. And every place we moved to, because we moved several times, we reapplied. And finally, by the time we got to Illinois, that was the first thing we did. We changed our mailing address, we got our phone, and we said, we better get in now before, if they're going to make us wait on a waiting list or something. I was surprised how many waiting lists there were, actually, with so many kids available. And when we were in Illinois, and we had to take all the classes and fill out all the paperwork, and I remember that we did everything that we needed to do, and the counselor called me, and she said, we have a little girl here, but we don't have your license yet. And I remember being so overwhelmed. Don was at work, and I called him on the phone, and I just started crying. And I said, that's our little girl. And I said, I know it. I know it in my heart. That's our little girl, and they won't let us have her. I was so upset. And it turned out that we got our license shortly thereafter. It was just the waiting and the paperwork of the state. And then we got Danielle.
Sherry, I can't tell you what it does to my heart to hear you describe the process, because it's so evident that it's a God-given conviction. This is what I'm supposed to do, because the way you're describing this whole process is comparable to a husband and wife desperate to conceive. They will do whatever it takes, and here you were already pregnant, but still this burning desire to welcome kids into your family who otherwise would not have a family. Danielle, do you remember the first time you met your mom and dad?
Yeah.
Tell me what that was like.
The first time we went to Chuck E. Cheese, I remember that, and we played and we had fun. And one thing I always remember, and we always joke about it, is in the family before, I didn't have to clean up, I didn't have to do anything, I was spoiled. And then I came here and we played, and then she's like, okay, we need to go now. And she's like, you need to clean up. And I didn't want to clean up. I was like, I'm not
This was the foster family before.
Right.
Okay.
But then I came here and I was like, I don't want to clean up. And she's like, well, you have to clean up. And so stubbornly, I cleaned up. And then we went to Chuck E. Cheese, and, we played and we had fun. And that's what I remember.
You know what's really interesting? I want to ask this question. I read an article, I want to say maybe a month ago, in Essence magazine. And Essence magazine is a publication that caters to black women. And there was a maybe 2.5 page article about adoption and cross-cultural adoption. And here was the question: should white families adopt black babies? Even though Hollywood makes this popular, how do we feel about this? And there was something in me, Sherry, Danielle, that just kind of bristled a little bit, because black families are not lining up to adopt babies. But here's what I want to ask you, because I think sometimes we take one story of a bad experience and we project that onto every family who wants to adopt cross-cultural lines. Have you guys had issues in your family? Has it been a problem? Danielle, let me ask you, has it been a problem? Have you struggled with your identity as a result of being a part of the Cobb family?
No, I haven't.
Sherry?
I'd have to say we haven't struggled, but my eyes have been opened to things that I never would have realized before. And that is all of our adopted children are biracial. So they're half black, they're half white, they're a mix of something. And
how many adopted kids do you have?
We have 3 adopted.
3 adopted kids.
And what's been interesting is, like, we've gone places or we've encountered people and our children have been very brushed aside, both by blacks and by whites. And that's been very awkward because they've been looked at as, well, they don't fit in at church, for example. Certain churches, they don't fit into this church because they're not really white. Wow. And then sometimes other places they don't fit in because they're not really black. And I never really understood that before. So it wasn't even the mixture of, like, with our family. It was, you know, they were kind of like shunned by black in society. And that's something I never experienced before, and I never thought I would, you know. So
what does that do for you as a mom, Sherry? Because here you have your babies and you go out and, you know, you can't understand why anyone would treat them differently. How do you battle that?
It kind of makes you like Mother Bear with her cub. It kind of makes you a little crazy. But you can't understand it. And I'll tell you, we never had a problem as a family, but I'm sure my husband wouldn't mind me sharing this story, but the first time we got Danielle, now when you fill out your paperwork and they give you all the information, they're not able to disclose the race of the child or certain specific things. And so he had a picture in his mind of what Danielle was like, and I had a picture of my mind. And at that point, she got into the car, and she was 7 with these big chubby cheeks, and she had her hair all plaited in braids with a million little beads and stuff like that. And we had just gotten a brand new truck, and he promptly turned around and drove into another car. And he just looked and he said, "She was not what I was expecting." And I said, "What are you expecting?" And he said, "She's black." And I said, "Well, they're not giving away all the white babies."
Right.
I mean, in my mind,
right.
I never thought she would be white. I just assumed she was black. And so that was just an eye-opener. And he realized, because every child we've encountered, you know, usually if you're in the foster care system, you know, there is something. You're biracial or you're black. You're not the healthy white baby that sometimes people have in their mind, like when they say, "I want to adopt a little newborn because I can't conceive," or something like that. You know? And for us especially, we were given time and time again as foster parents older children. I mean, we didn't get newborn babies, and we were fine with that, but that presents a lot of challenges.
Well, those are the groups of children who need families the most. You know, now Danielle, you've been introduced to the Lord Jesus Christ as a result of being a Cobb.
Yeah.
How is it that at 16 you are able to understand that God was sovereign? Because in your account, what you wrote, you said, you know, because God allowed me to go through this abuse, and you wouldn't want to relive it. You said this enabled me to meet my parents and to be adopted a second time into the family of God. You just have to know, that blows my mind. I read that, and you're too young to understand that and to draw those connections. How in the world do you understand that?
Well, in Jeremiah, he does say, "I know the plans I have for you." So at age 5, I mean, I'm not thinking that. I'm like, this is awful. I want out of this. But then as you move on and you grow older and you read your Bible, you understand, well, he was planning this for me so that I could have a family and I don't have to be alone and be neglected by the world, but that you can accept him and that he's gonna make a way for you. He's gonna help you live the life that he has for you, not the life that you planned for yourself.
That's so powerful. What a blessing it is. Sherry, what encouragement do you have for those watching right now? There are some people who go, you know, I could do it. I could do it. I'll just be completely vulnerable. So my husband and I want to adopt children. And let me tell you, here's what we say. So I'm going to say, talk to me, Sherry, okay? I say, okay, when the little kids are older and they're more like independent and self-sufficient, then we'll adopt a child. What do you say to me?
I say that's realistic, because I come to you with both sides of the coin. We've had good adoptions and we've had very difficult adoptions. And we've had our children exposed to things that we wish they would have never been exposed to. And as young children, you know, maybe it's not the time right now until they're able to be in the home and be leaders and stuff like that. I mean, there are so many kids out there that need homes, and yes, that's true. But it is very challenging. It is very challenging. I have told people before, you know, I talked to one mom one time, and she said, we really have the heart to adopt, but, you know, I'm doing this and my husband's doing this. And I said, it's not just going to be that you're going to take an adopted child and you're going to be able to just slip them into your lifestyle. It doesn't happen like that. Everything in your house is a lot of times going to be turned upside down. And I said, you have to. I mean, I am very blessed to be able to stay home and homeschool. And many of the children that we have need that. They need constant care, constant attention, and they're not even, you know, medically needy, not that, but just emotionally needy. And they have different backgrounds, and they need constant attention.
So this is not something you just wake up one morning and decide, I'm going to adopt. You have to have a plan, and it sounds like you have to have a conviction in your heart that this is what the Lord wants for you. So do you guys, is your family solid, done now? Do you have any other plans to adopt any other kids? I know that you probably are like, Meeke, I can't even focus. We're due in a few months, but.
We were told by the state that we are over our limit. So the state won't give us any more kids because we applied when we first came to Mississippi. And then after that, we did a private adoption. And we have always said, whoever the Lord puts in our path, our doors are open. So we would just wait and see what the Lord would do.
I love that. I mean, we're going to end the show. I love that, though. All these kids who need families, and you've reached your limit. So you can't take any more. Sherry, Danielle, thank you so much. I want to say thanks to Don, because Don agreed to take care of the other kids so that you could come and be here with me today. Thank you so much. Thank you, Don. And also want to thank Tom and Steve of New Beginnings International. Thank you so much for watching the show. I encourage you to go to newbeginningsadoption.org and learn more about adoption. Who knows, maybe the Lord has burdened your heart and this is something that you want to explore further. In that case, I say God bless you. Until next time, take care.
You want to put your life in motion. You say you want to go somewhere, but you feel you don't have what it takes to take you there. If you know, let God know, you let God in, so He can lead you where He needs you, then your desires will be fulfilled.